That was interesting, Chris was thinking. I don't know what compelled me to do that. God, she hasn't looked at me since I kissed her forehead. Damn it, Chris. Way to make things awkward. Olivia could hear Chris's thoughts and felt bad that he was kicking himself for making a move. Please look at me, Olivia, he thought. Shit, things are going to be so weird now. Please just look at me and smile so I don't have to keep standing here like an idiot, feeling like I made myself vulnerable and then got completely rejected. Olivia sort of liked hearing how vulnerable and self-conscious Chris felt right now, because a guy as confident and cocky as him rarely revealed this side of himself to anyone. It made her feel powerful seeing this chink in his armor. On the other hand, Olivia sympathized with him the longer she read his thoughts. She didn't want him to feel awkward any longer, so finally, she looked up at him and smiled. She didn't mention the kiss because she didn't want him to make him feel any worse, and honestly, she didn't even know what to say about it. But she smiled so he didn't feel like she was completely rejecting him. Chris observed Olivia's smile and experienced a surge of relief. His hand extended, playfully prodding her shoulder. "What are you thinking?" he asked hesitantly, unable to help himself. "I'm thinking, stop poking my shoulder," Olivia quipped. Why did Chris persistently engage in prodding behavior of all kinds? "What are you really thinking?" Chris asked, a little more serious now, gaze fixed on Olivia. She gulped. He wasn't going to let this go. "I'm so glad he can't read my thoughts," Olivia mused privately. "I was thinking how much I like this," she whispered. Then quickly she added, "This game and this arcade." A smile spread across his face. "I like this arcade too. I am having fun here." "Same," she eked out. Their eye contact was so unbreakable and so severe now that Olivia had to pry herself away, unsure what was happening. Was this all just part of Chris's power plays? Was he just seeing how far he could take things with Olivia to see if she liked him, only to tease her and prod her about it later? She couldn't tell if everything was just surface-level amusement with him when it came down to it, or if he actually had deeper feelings. So she cleared her throat and redirected her attention to the game beside them. "Anyway, I think you were going to show me how to beat this game, right?" Yes, you needed a real skilled player to show you how, didn't you?" Chris taunted, a mocking tone present. "I see how it is." "Ha, very funny," Olivia retorted, because she couldn't think of a clever comeback in time. She was still too flustered because of the unexpected forehead kiss, and part of her wondered if that's why he had even kissed her in the first place, simply to see her squirm for his own amusement. Chris erupted into hearty laughter, and then went to work showing her how to beat the arcade game. After a while, Olivia managed to capture her desired toy with the claw, and she began cheering. Chris clapped along with her. "Congratulations! I thought it might take all night, but I'm impressed. It only took half the night," he teased. Just as she was about to write Chris off completely as a guy who simply liked to toy with her for his amusement, Olivia overheard Chris thinking, "It's been a long time since I felt this much joy." There was no trace of sarcasm in his tone. He was actually having a good time. Olivia felt good, like maybe she had helped get Chris's mind off his mom after all. "All right, champ, come on. Allow me to treat you to dinner," Chris offered, looking around. "Least I can do, since I sort of blew up your dinner plans with my dad earlier, right? What would you like to eat?" Olivia thought about it. "I am hungry," she thought. She'd only eaten a bag of potato chips since her dinner had been interrupted, and she still had about half an hour before her driver showed up. "You're treating?" Olivia scrutinized Chris before responding. "Fine. I want fried chicken." "Fried chicken? Very well. Just up ahead in that corner restaurant up there. We might find some." Chris gestured toward the opposite side of the street. "After you," Olivia acquiesced, casting a glance in the direction indicated by Chris. Then she turned her attention to the white ball she had just won in the arcade game. "I got this for my dog. Can you hold it while you carry me?" Chris's lips spread into a wide grin. "You're really getting comfortable asking me for things, aren't you? What's next? I'm going to be your personal butler and valet?" "I mean, if you're offering, I won't say no." she teased. Besides, I thought chivalry wasn't dead. It's not yet, he retorted, but at the rate you're going, you may just kill it. Aha, Olivia mocked. So funny. Come on, let's get that fried chicken. As she said the words aloud, Olivia's craving for dinner grew more insistent. It had been far too long since she had last indulged in some good fast food, and hunger gnawed at her. Right this way, madam. Chris took a few steps forward before realizing that Olivia had not followed. He turned around to face her. Olivia had cocked her head to the side and extended her arms. Aren't you going to carry me? Chris snorted, helplessly shaking his head. This girl was ridiculous. But he had to admit he sort of liked it. She was the only girl who seemed to prod him as much as he enjoyed prodding everyone else. Usually, the girls in Manhattan's upper classes were so stuffy and stodgy. Not Liv, though. He retraced his steps and then squatted down with his back to Olivia, offering her a piggyback ride. Observing Chris's accommodating nature, Olivia felt a touch of embarrassment. Biting her lower lip, she asked hesitantly, Wait, did you not want to carry me because I'm too heavy? Heavy? Chris chuckled. You're like a tiny chihuahua, and you yap like one too. He cracked. Olivia longed to strangle him upon hearing his remark, but she climbed up onto his back and merely snorted and turned her head away. This guy thinks he's so funny, she thought, rolling her eyes. Even without looking, Chris could vividly envision Olivia's myriad expressions. She's probably rolling her eyes and smiling at the same time, because she kind of likes being teased, Chris thought. He's not wrong, Olivia thought, hearing his thoughts. The pair traversed the road along the crosswalk and ventured across the street. Unbeknownst to them, however, a black Bentley idled outside the arcade. The black-tinted window slowly shut. Through the rearview mirror, the driver scrutinized the young man seated in the back, cautiously inquiring, Sir, shall we depart? Earlier, as the driver sped down this street, the man in the back seat had suddenly said, Pull over right here, and instructed the driver to stop directly in front of the arcade. Since then, his gaze remained fixed on the young teenagers crossing the street on piggyback. What about them troubles you? The driver wondered. Let's go, the young man said finally, when the two teens stepped into the other side of the street and disappeared into the crowd. His expression betrayed no emotion, yet his eyes possessed the depth of an unfathomable abyss. I want you to get me all the information you can on that man. His name is Christopher Jones, and I want it in 3 days. Do you understand? Yes, sir. The driver nodded. After a brief hesitation, he added, and sir, in 3 years, you will go to San Francisco. He refrained from uttering the latter half of the sentence out of fear. I am aware. The young man's eyes flickered for a moment, though the driver couldn't be sure what this signified. The driver nodded again. His car pulled away from the curb before commencing its journey and disappearing into the night in the opposite direction. Olivia felt anticipation tingling inside her Sunday evening. She had to admit she was excited to see Chris Jones at school Monday morning. It would be funny to see someone as free as him be confined to the gates and rules and uniform restrictions of a school like Marshall High. He's probably going to hate it, she mused, smiling in spite of herself at the thought of him in his school uniform. But she knew she was smiling for another reason, too. She secretly longed to be near him again, to joke with him and hear all his little sarcastic comments, anticipating what he would say about the students and teachers and traditions at the school. On Monday morning, Olivia refused her driver Morris Pratt's offer to escort her to the school gate. He hastened to assist Olivia. Miss Olivia, at least take it slowly with your ankle. I'll be all right, Morris. I'm healing quickly, Olivia said. She was healing faster than normal. She wondered if this was a power too. As she disembarked from the car in the alley, slowly proceeding towards the school one step at a time. At the entrance, she unexpectedly encountered Wendy, who had just arrived. Liv, how's your leg doing? Wendy inquired directly upon noticing Olivia's peculiar gait. That's healing surprisingly quickly. Olivia shook her head. Just a slight ankle dislocation, and we'll recover in a few days. A serious injury requires 100 days to heal. Take it easy. Wendy approached and offered her arm. I won't be able to carry you on my back, but I'll support you. Wendy's words instantly reminded Olivia of Chris's remark from the other night, causing her cheeks to blush. Shaking her head, she banished the memory and accepted Wendy's support. Thank you. Don't thank me, it's no problem. Wendy smiled. Engaging in conversation, the two made their way into the school building. Upon entering, Olivia was intercepted by her teacher, Adam. Ah, Liv, you've arrived at the opportune moment. Would you mind accompanying me to the principal's office? All right, Olivia nodded before turning to Wendy, who peeled off and strode happily to her locker to collect her books before school started. As she followed Adam, Olivia noticed the students around them casting curious glances and felt a twinge of awkwardness. She knew how rumors of Pamela and Adam had spread so quickly, so she was quick to walk behind Adam by a few steps to avoid encouraging the same rumors about her. As they made their way upstairs towards the principal's office, they engaged in conversation, discussing their weekends. As they neared the office, Olivia immediately grasped the reason behind Adam summoning her. So, you may know that we have a transfer student coming, Adam said casually. And since you're class president, I know I mentioned I'd like you to meet them. Ah, yes, Olivia said. She smiled. What a fun way to greet Chris this morning, she thought. I'll get to say, I'm in charge here, and I'll show you around, newbie. And I can teasingly add, you better give me the respect I deserve as president of my class. Come, Liv, have a seat here. Adam guided Olivia to a chair outside the principal's office and gestured for her to sit. Thank you, Adam. Olivia expressed her gratitude as she settled into the seat. After a moment, her gaze shifted towards an unfamiliar boy standing beside her. This isn't Chris, she thought. Allow me to introduce you, Adam said, his attention on Olivia. This is our class president, Olivia, whom our classmates affectionately refer to as Liv. Adam turned to face the newcomer. Liv, this is the new transfer student, Frances. In all her excitement about Chris coming to Marshall, Olivia had completely forgotten that Adam had told her weeks ago about a transfer student named Frances who would be joining her class mid-semester. At the time, she had perked up at the news, but now she was completely preoccupied, and all she could think was, where the hell is Chris? He's supposed to transfer here. He said he was going to fill out the paperwork. Is he going to back out on our deal? Or maybe he's meeting the senior class president since he's a senior and I'm a junior? She shook her head in frustration. Either way, he should be here. She looked around confused. Adam cleared his throat, probably because Olivia had just been standing there, watching Frances while lost in thought instead of actually saying anything. Oh, sorry, Olivia muttered, shaking her head. She gazed at the figure standing before her, her expression composed yet polite as she offered a nod and a gentle smile. Hello, Frances. Frances, the boy in front of her, was a mix of familiar and strange to Olivia. In her previous life, he had been Pamela's most loyal follower, providing her with unlimited financial support that propelled Pamela's career to greater heights. Olivia had grown accustomed to seeing Frances clad in dark suits, exuding an air of superiority as he looked down upon her. Now, however, she saw him donning sportswear and carrying a backpack. His youthful face was distant, amber eyes an unfamiliar sight. Olivia found it hard to adjust to this new image of him. He seemed like nothing she'd remembered. Then again, I can barely remember what he was like when he first got to Marshall High, she conceded. Mostly I just remember how he was by the time I died in my last life. He was smug and arrogant and did whatever Pamela wanted. It's hard to imagine he was ever this unsure, shy teen he seems to be now. Frances would one day become good-looking, but right now he was pre-growth spurt and acne-prone, and he wore braces. In other words, easily overlooked. An ugly duckling before the swan phase. Hello, Frances responded, his gaze sweeping over Olivia from head to toe. He was aware of how special Adam was to her, and disdain colored his eyes. Wasn't this the privilege of a good student? It seemed that all teachers, regardless of right or wrong, only cared about results. Even in conflicts, they automatically assumed it was his fault. Perhaps it was because of his poor grades. Francis struggled to understand why he still bothered coming to school when he could easily teach himself through the internet. The monotony of attending classes bored him. If it weren't for his mother's insistence, he wouldn't have shown up at all. In a school filled with exemplary students, he felt like an outsider from the moment he set foot inside. He didn't know how long he would stay this time, but he made a promise to his family. He wouldn't actively seek trouble, but if someone provoked him, well, they couldn't blame him then. All right, Olivia thought, reading Francis's thoughts. So he's shy, but he's a bit of a troublemaker, and he doesn't like people who do well in school because he himself isn't a great student. Noted. She vowed to use this information if he provoked to be an enemy instead of an ally in this life. Francis, if you have any questions about school or school life, feel free to ask Liv. Millie Brown will also be here to help you. Adam chimed in. Francis casually nodded, his response lacking enthusiasm. Hey, Adam, did you need me? Sorry I was late because the subway had an unexpected issue. Millie arrived at the office door just in time. She had overheard that Adam came to the class in the morning to find her and Olivia. Setting her school bag down, she hurried over from her locker. Ah, perfect timing, Millie. Come on in, Adam called, gesturing for her to join them. This is Francis, a new classmate. Ah, a boy. Millie was momentarily taken aback upon seeing Francis. She had assumed he would be a girl based on his name. Nodding in acknowledgement, she introduced herself. Hello, my name is Millie. Hello, Francis replied with a dismissive glance. So maybe an enemy after all, Olivia thought, watching him intently. I can't wait to get to know you and show you around, Millie sang enthusiastically. She was unable to hold back her unbridled sweet streak, even when others were dismissive with her. It's like she didn't even see their dismissal because she was too busy seeing the best in people. Shall we? Millie asked, glancing at Olivia. Olivia shrugged. Sure. The bell for first period rang, signaling that it was time to head back to the classroom. Adam noticed and instructed, You girls get back to your lockers to get your books. It's time for class. Adam turned to Francis and added, You can go back to the classroom with them. They'll show you everything you need to get around today. Sounds good? Francis nodded in response. He's not much of a talker, is he? Olivia thought. Or he just thinks he's better than this. Liv, is it all right if I leave you the task of introducing Francis to the rest of the class? Kids tend to be more welcoming if they think another student has already met and vouched for the new student first. Adam looked at Olivia, seeking her confirmation. No problem, Olivia said before turning to leave. Millie stepped forward to help her walk, given her bandaged ankle. Here, let me help you. Adam picked up his cup, taking a sip of water, and watched the 3 students exit the administration office. Millie assisted Olivia as they left the office, with Francis trailing behind them at a distance. Liv, if you want, you can hang back at lunchtime and find a good spot for us all to sit, and Wendy and I can go to grab us some food, so you don't have to worry about walking too much on your sprained ankle. Are you sure? I don't want to trouble you guys. Olivia quickly responded. Don't mention it. Millie smiled and turned to Francis. Francis, that reminds me, do you need us to guide you to the cafeteria for lunch? I can show you where it is after the second period. No need. Francis promptly declined. He had no desire to interact with the so-called exemplary students, especially not with a girl. As a man, he didn't require a high-voiced, always smiling girl like Millie to show him the way. Olivia's brow furrowed, listening to Francis' thoughts on Millie. All right, Millie shrugged. Well, the cafeteria is to the right of the bell tower in the courtyard. It's in the 3-story building at the end of the block. You should be able to see the signage on the side of the buildings. The first and second floors have mostly science labs and computer and math classes, but the third floor is where you go for the library and food. I guess if you have trouble finding it, just ask and someone will show you. Otherwise, did you want my number to text if you get lost later?" "Nope, I got it," Francis replied, committing the information to memory. He was short with Millie. It bothered Olivia. With that said, he trailed Olivia and Millie toward the classroom door, where everyone inside was engaged in chatter. Olivia allowed Millie to enter the classroom first before turning back to Francis. "Francis, wait for me at the door. I'll call you in to introduce you in a few." "Alrighty," Francis said with a bored shrug, like he didn't care either way. This wasn't his first transfer, but it was the first time the class president had introduced a new student. Why do they take themselves so seriously here? He wondered. Or is it that the teachers just want nothing to do with me because they look down on me, so they've pawned me off on the class president to deal with? Sensing Francis's thoughts, Olivia thought, God, this guy really doesn't trust other people. He's got such an inferiority complex. She assuaged his fears by saying, "Adam only asked me to introduce you to everyone myself so that you can integrate into the class more quickly, remember? When teachers introduce new students at the beginning, it creates a sense of distance. But when the class president introduces new classmates, it feels like introducing friends of the same age. It helps bridge that gap." Maybe he hadn't paid attention when Adam explained that a few minutes ago, Olivia figured. Maybe this guy doesn't really pay attention to anything anyone's saying, and that's why he's been to so many different schools before this one. Francis remained silent, studying Olivia, as if trying to discern the truth behind her words. Unperturbed by his silence, Olivia pushed open the classroom door and greeted her fellow students. "Good morning, everyone." "Morning, Liv," a few other students said as they sat down and took out their textbooks. Their teacher had yet to arrive in class, so Olivia stepped up to the podium and rapped her knuckles on the blackboard to gain attention. "Quiet down, everyone. Excuse me, I have an announcement to make." "Olivia, what happened to your leg?" someone inquired. "We'll talk about my legs later. Let's focus on the new student first." Olivia waved her hand, redirecting the topic. "What about your ankle?" another student asked. "I'm fine," Olivia smiled. "Can everyone settle down because hello?" Because it was the first period on Monday, and excitement filled the air as students reunited with their close friends after a weekend apart. It was hard to make people be quiet. Maintaining discipline proved more challenging than Olivia assumed it would. "Guys," she shouted, "it's time to meet our new classmate." As soon as everyone heard those particular words, they quieted down, turning their attention toward her, curious. "Remember how Adam mentioned we would be getting a new classmate?" Olivia prompted. The class affirmed their recollection. "Well, he's here now. Let's show a bit of tact and politely welcome him without overwhelming him." Olivia raised her voice. "Francis, come in." With bated breath, everyone craned their necks to catch a glimpse of the new student. In the middle of the classroom, Pamela Cox clenched her fist nervously. Upon hearing that Francis was a boy, Pamela smiled. "Maybe this is my chance to seize the opportunity and establish myself as the best friend or girlfriend of someone really influential," she thought, eyes glittering with newfound determination. "Finally, I'm going to overshadow Olivia once and for all." When Francis heard Olivia call his name, he pushed open the classroom door and entered. He felt a bit uneasy under the scrutiny of so many unfamiliar eyes. When they saw him, the other students fell into a momentary silence, pierced only by the sound of pens clicking against desks. So Francis is a boy?" murmured some of the classmates, their surprise evident. "I thought it was going to be a girl based on the name," one guy said in the back of the classroom. He was clearly disappointed, hoping the new student would be a hot girl. After a few seconds, hushed conversations erupted among the students once again. "Hey guys, quiet down, please," Olivia called out, clapping her hands. "Our teacher's going to be here soon, so I just wanted to get through the introduction. Hey, shh, let's be quiet." Gradually, the classroom settled down again, so Olivia could continue speaking. In the middle of the room, Pamela looked at Francis with a mixture of surprise and delight. Her eyes gleamed as her mind raced with new, inspired thoughts. Boys were easier to manipulate than girls, and with her looks and talent, it wouldn't be difficult for Pamela to gain favor with a guy like Francis, who was still clearly going through his awkward phase. So I was saying, everyone, this is Frances Peters, Olivia said at the front of the classroom. Now, why don't we go around and say our full names too, and maybe a fun fact about ourselves, so Frances can sort of get an idea of who everyone is? As the students introduced themselves to Frances, Pamela's smile widened. Wait, he's a Peters, she thought. The Peters family holds considerable wealth, and rumor has it they have connections with influential individuals everywhere from Washington, D.C. to Hong Kong. If I could establish a relationship with Frances, it could potentially pave my way to a prosperous future. The very thought filled Pamela with excitement. Olivia handed Frances a piece of chalk and instructed him to write his name on the blackboard, lest anyone forget. As he did so, his beautiful penmanship elicited sighs of admiration from the students. Olivia wasn't surprised by his elegant handwriting. In her previous life, she had witnessed the impeccable calligraphy of Frances's grandfather, a rare art collector who specialized in verifying ancient texts and who owned an auction house that sold artifacts and high-end art. It was said that the library of ancient calligraphy texts he owned was worth over $30 million alone. She recalled a birthday banquet for Pamela, where Frances had sent over a text from ancient Pompeii as a gift. That night, Pamela had worn a smile, knowing the gift had instantly elevated her social standing among the elite. Wait, another student said, after introducing himself. Frances, why don't you tell us about your favorite subjects, or your hobbies, or some sports you enjoy? Since we're going around saying fun facts, you should too, right? You only told us your name, but don't you have anything interesting to share? Olivia could tell the boy was trying to prod Frances, but she let it slide because she thought Frances deserved it a little, based on his thoughts about Millie and Adam earlier. I'm not particularly strong in any school subjects. Frances shrugged without a trace of shame. It's not really my interest. He figured that at a competitive private school like this, interest in him would wane once everyone discovered his past mediocre academic performance. The principal would probably even resort to using threats of academic probation in order to isolate him from his peers once again. Whatever, he thought, amused to it. He had mentally prepared himself for it. It's cool, though, he went on in his mind. I'm not fond of studying anyway. My hobby is playing VR games. Frances finally spoke up, informing the class. VR games? Sick! The boys started whispering excitedly, while the girls appeared puzzled. What the heck are VR games? Olivia wondered. Those are virtual reality games. They're super expensive, but super worth it, Wendy explained while rolling her eyes. All my male cousins play them. Such a lame waste of time, if you ask me. Wendy may not have been a fan, but it seemed like the male students were all excited to talk about their favorite VR games. Observing the boys' discussions, Frances couldn't help but curl his lips. Maybe he could make friends with other video gamers here after all. The second bell rang, signaling the start of the first period. Olivia knew their teacher would be arriving any second, so she quickly said, Now let's give Frances a warm round of applause and welcome him to our class. As the class clapped, their chemistry teacher walked in, perplexed by the applause. What? Are y'all welcoming me? Everyone laughed at his confusion. Sam Feinstein stood up, still laughing. It's rare to see him smile anymore, Olivia thought, watching Sam. Ever since she caused his accident that took him out of the running for the class president race, he was a lot more mopey. Serves him right, Olivia thought, remembering everything he had thought about her before she heard him. Mr. Sun? Sam informed their chemistry teacher. We've a new classmate? Oh, Mr. Sun nodded, feigning disappointment. So you're not welcoming me. Come on, everyone, let's give Mr. Sun a warm round of applause to welcome him, one of the rowdy pranksters in the back of the class joked. The students smiled and clapped, joining in on the joke. Meanwhile, Olivia descended from the podium, guiding Frances to his assigned seat. Pointing to an empty seat behind her, she instructed, You can sit there. Whatever, Frances replied and proceeded toward his seat. Olivia then made her way to her own seat. However, Mr. Sun noticed her limping gait and inquired, Liv, what happened to your leg? Oh, it's nothing, Olivia replied, smiling as she explained. I fell down the stairs during the break and sprained my ankle. Pamela couldn't help but feel a surge of delight upon hearing this. She gritted her teeth and silently wished more harm upon Olivia. Olivia caught Pamela thinking this and turned to look at her, eyes narrowing. Pamela was so lost in thought she didn't even seem to notice Olivia's glare. "Oh, be careful then," Mr. Sun cautioned before returning to his seat. Olivia thought back to the events that led to her sprained ankle. She winced thinking of Xavier leaping towards her, and her heart raced when she imagined his knife in her mind now. She had to shake to release herself from the grip of the terrible memory. "It's behind you now," she reminded herself. The bruises were already healing and fading quickly, and soon her ankle would feel 100% better, and this would all be a distant, distant memory. Olivia took her place and greeted her deskmate Jeremy, saying, "Good morning." "Morning," Jeremy responded. "All right, everyone, open your books to page 340, Mr. Sun said. He began his lesson as students cracked open their books and turned to the correct page. First period languished on and became second period, and finally, once lunch rolled around, Olivia yawned as Wendy grabbed her backpack. "Let's head to the cafeteria," Wendy said excitedly. "I'm starving, and my mom made me some pierogies we can eat with whatever we end up getting." "Wow, your mom's cooking is always so delicious," Millie exclaimed, her face filled with envy. Wendy's mother was known for her exceptional culinary skills. "Ooh, I'm in," Olivia said, standing up. "You know I'll never turn down your mom's home-cooked pierogies." The three girls exited their classroom and joined the throng of students making their way to the cafeteria. Olivia positioned near the staircase, secured seats, while the other two went to collect their food. Finding an empty table near a pillar, Olivia sat down. Before long, she spotted Francis at the food counter, holding a plate. Once he got a full helping of lasagna and a slice of pizza, he took a seat with his back facing her. "He's quite quick," Olivia remarked under her breath, scanning the crowd for Millie and Wendy among the bustling cafeteria staff. Her two friends were already engulfed in the crowd, and the available seats in the room were gradually filling up. Francis had somehow got to the front of the line before everyone else had even decided what they wanted to eat. Moments later, Wendy and Millie arrived with their plates. "The cafeteria is packed today," Wendy noted. "It's Italian food day," Millie remarked, placing a dish in front of Olivia. "Everyone loves the pizza and pasta options. Here, I got this one for you because I know you like extra tortellini." "Thank you," Olivia smiled, warmed by her friend's gesture. "And here's the cannoli," Wendy added, setting a small plate of desserts beside Olivia's plate. "Help yourself to whatever you want. I know you didn't ask for any, but I figure, who really turns down Italian desserts, right?" Olivia chuckled. "I'm not about to start now." "I may have also gotten us some tiramisu, a few profiteroles, and a bit of the arancini," Wendy said, her smile widening. "What? It's only Italian Day once a month, and last time I didn't get to try it all." "You say that like New York City isn't known for its amazing Italian food. Like this cafeteria is the only place we can get it," Millie chimed in, joining the banter and laughing. "You're right, I may have gone slightly overboard," Olivia playfully chuckled, looking down at the feast before them. When she looked up, her brow furrowed as she shifted her gaze to the side. "Hey look, isn't that Pamela with the new student Francis?" The other two followed Wendy's pointing finger and observed Pamela sitting across from Francis as they both dug into their plates of lasagna. Pamela's face displayed an expression of delight, and her smile was filled with sweetness. Clearly, they were engaged in an intriguing conversation. It's all an act, Olivia knew, watching Pamela. She's going to target him and use him the way she used him and me in my last life. A smile curved at the corner of Olivia's lips. It seemed that events were unfolding according to her previous life script. But since my rebirth, Olivia thought, and since I rejected Pamela's friendship, will Pamela still be able to wrap Francis around her finger and keep him as her loyal servant, especially a permanent ATM machine in human form? Olivia pursed her lips. Not if I have anything to do with it. Do you think they know each other from before somehow? Wendy asked Olivia, while resting her chin on her hand as she observed Pamela's overly friendly interaction with Francis. She seems so familiar with him, unless she always acts like she's that close to people she's just met. Maybe they went to camp together at some point, or their parents are friends. Who knows? Olivia replied, picking up her fork. In reality, she knew that Pamela had never met Francis before. She just knew of his family because they were so wealthy. But Pamela's tactics were so obvious, and Olivia didn't want to let on that she could read minds, so she played dumb. Okay, Wendy, I'm going to need to try your mom's pierogies. Like yesterday because they smell so good. Yes, let us feast, Millie eagerly chimed in, her interest piqued by the mention of Wendy's mother's cooking. All right. Wendy retrieved her bag and opened it with a flourish, revealing a lunchbox inside carrying her mother's pierogies. Ta-da! My mom made her secret sauce to go with them too. You have to have them right away because once I open this box, all the heat will leave. Wow. Millie blinked in anticipation as she picked up her fork and dug in. Go ahead, give it a try, Wendy urged Olivia. It's incredibly delicious. Olivia took a bite, savoring the elastic texture of the pierogies. The meat, smooth and fragrant, filled her mouth with a salty umami flavor. Oh my God, I'm in heaven, Millie exclaimed, giving a thumbs up. It was her first time experiencing such a delicious treat. One more, Olivia nodded, digging into Wendy's lunchbox for another pierogi. Oh, hey, Liv, your deskmate Jeremy is walking by, Wendy said. She pointed just over Olivia's shoulder. Will you invite him to join us for lunch? Until now, Liv rarely paid attention to Jeremy. He was so quiet and kept to himself, not because he was bullied or anything, but because he chose to isolate himself. He was a classic introvert who preferred to focus on practicing violin and losing himself in books to socializing with kids his age. But based on the way Wendy was looking at Jeremy, Olivia suddenly realized her friend may actually like him. He looks so nice today, Wendy was thinking. I wonder if we could get him to come out of his shell a bit. Olivia glanced from Wendy to Jeremy and noticed that Jeremy was standing between a row of cafeteria tables, searching for an empty seat with a plate in his hand. She extended her hand and called out, Jeremy, come this way. Jeremy heard her voice and looked in Olivia's direction. His expression froze momentarily. Did she call my name by accident? Jeremy wondered. There's a seat here, Wendy added, waving her hand as well. After a brief hesitation and another look around, Jeremy walked over to their table and took a seat. Thought you could use a place to sit, Wendy smiled. Oh, thank you, Jeremy said quietly. He flashed a smile that disappeared as quickly as it appeared. Just as Jeremy was about to put headphones on and tune the rest of the world out, Wendy leaned in and generously placed a pierogi in front of him on his plate. Consider yourself lucky, she smiled. You happened to sit here on the day my mom made her famous pierogies. You haven't lived until you've tasted my mom's cooking, trust me. Thank you, Jeremy responded again, feeling a bit awkward and unsure what to say. It was his first time sitting with these girls, and definitely his first time trying a classmate's food. Part of the reason he never really talked is because he was always afraid of saying the wrong thing in social situations. Right now was no exception. Jeremy fretted that he would offend Wendy's mom's cooking if he didn't have the exact right reaction. Under the watchful gazes of the three girls, he took a bite and then nodded slowly to confirm that the pierogi was indeed tasty. How is it? Wendy asked. It's really delicious, Jeremy nodded. Told you, Wendy smiled proudly. My mom's culinary skills are undoubtedly impressive, she thought. Maybe he'll want to come over one day to see what else she can make. Or I'll have Mom make something else I can bring here to show him. Olivia stifled her smile when she heard what Wendy was thinking. It was sweet hearing that her friend maybe had the beginnings of a crush forming. Wendy, you should bring in the chicken pot pie you made that one time, Olivia piped in, hoping to help usher along this potential budding romance between her friend and her friend's new crush. Jeremy, you'll have to sit with us and try that the day she brings it in. Wendy smiled. Oh, yes, that is so good. Oh, okay. Jeremy nodded. Olivia could see in his mind that he was happy to have some people to talk to, even if he didn't quite know how to handle the new attention. Just make enough for all of us, 'cause I'm going to want to eat more than I do on Italian Day. Millie laughed. On the other side of the cafeteria, Pamela glanced over at Olivia's table from the corner of her eye. Francis got up to use the restrooms and then headed to his locker. So she had looked around bored and noticed when Olivia called out to Jeremy a few moments ago. Now she saw them sitting together and laughing. The atmosphere by Olivia's table was jovial and harmonious. Pamela's hand, resting on her knee, clenched into a tight fist. That wretched girl has ignored my attempts to befriend her. But now she's willingly invited that quiet nerd Jeremy to join her and her friends while they eat? Pamela fumed. What the hell? What's so wrong with me? Or is Olivia just truly shameless and completely dependent upon male attention to be okay? Is that why she invited Jeremy over? Even if that was Olivia's motivation, Pamela couldn't understand it. If she wants a man's attention, she should at least learn a thing or two from me. There's no use wasting time or energy on a man like Jeremy, who is relatively poor compared to the wealthy kids at this school. He has no value. She could at least try to be friends with someone like Francis. Pamela smirked. Oh well, Olivia's loss. Francis will be my friend then. Because even though I may not be as wealthy as Liv, at least I'm smart and resourceful, and I'm destined to stand out. With this thought in mind, Pamela fixed a gentle smile on her face, got up from her table and approached Olivia's. What a coincidence, she said, a sly smirk on her face. What can we do for you? Olivia said as her friends raised their heads, exchanging curious glances. What are you up to this time, Pamela Cox? Olivia thought. I saw that your ankle was injured, Pamela said. Her smile remained and the tone of her voice registered concern. I just wanted to check up on you and see when you think you might recover. Will it be burdensome to resume your duties as class president? After all, the responsibilities of the position can be quite demanding. I'm afraid it might be inconvenient for your injured leg. Olivia immediately grasped Pamela's intentions and responded with a mocking smile. Are you suggesting that you want to take over? I didn't mean that, Pamela replied with a smile. I'm just genuinely concerned about your well-being and the well-being of the class if you're injured. With Francis around, Pamela knew she no longer needed Olivia's support, so it was crucial to establish her own dominance and reclaim her position in the social hierarchy as soon as possible. Ah, good. I'm glad you have no such intentions of trying to be president, Olivia said, placing her fork down and propping her chin on her hand. Because if you tried to campaign against me again, I'd hate to see you lose twice. Millie and Wendy had to stifle their laughs. Even Jeremy found Olivia's comeback funny and covered his smile. Olivia grinned and added, But thank you for your concern, Pamela. My ankle will heal just fine, though. That's good. Pamela gritted her teeth. Why couldn't Olivia suffer a permanent disability from her fall? She thought angrily. Life is so unfair. I didn't know you cared so much about me. Olivia's smile brightened, seemingly sunny and sincere. Jeremy, sitting across from her, noticed a slight change in Olivia's expression and sensed that Olivia was about to make a significant move. Although her smile appeared genuine, her eyes betrayed a lack of warmth. Jeremy's lips curled in curiosity. He couldn't help but wonder how Olivia would retaliate in the face of provocation. We are classmates, so it's only natural, Pamela replied, maintaining her smile. If the class president ever feels inconvenience due to an injury, I think it's incumbent upon her peers to offer to pitch in and help, no? Anyways, feel free to delegate tasks you can't handle to others. I'd be happy to be of service. Well, I have the assistance of our class's vice president, Giovanni Petrie. So you can rest assured I'll be okay, Pamela. Olivia's expression turned serious as she voiced her concerns. You remember him, right? He's the other kid who actually got elected? Or do you only keep track of people who don't get enough votes like you? Pamela seethed, hearing Olivia's voice dripping with pity. Her face turned red when she saw Millie and Wendy, and stupid, dorky Jeremy snickering at her. Oh, but Pamela? Olivia added, twisting the knife of humiliation even further. Are you even in good health yourself? I was genuinely worried when you fainted in class the other day, remember? When your boyfriend, Phil Eggers, had to come to give you CPR, and everyone joked that you two had kissed. As Olivia mentioned this incident, Pamela's expression momentarily changed. Gone was her arrogance and confidence. Her blood boiled, but she tried to remain calm so Olivia couldn't see how rattled she was. Ha ha, thank you for your concern, Olivia, Pamela uttered. But I've been fine for a while now. That was a one-time thing. Oh, it's so good to hear that you're doing better. Olivia smiled and continued. It happened so suddenly. If we hadn't witnessed it ourselves, one might assume you were faking it for attention or, attempting to throw yourself into Phil's arms or something. Pfft. The others couldn't contain their laughter. Throw myself into someone's arms? Pamela wanted to yell. Hardly. Pamela's face turned pale now, but she forced herself to maintain her smile. It was all a misunderstanding. You know, It's okay, Olivia interjected, her smile masking a hint of disdain. Facing Pamela's gaze, she mockingly smiled. You don't have to explain. I'm sure the humiliation of fainting in front of the class was harrowing enough. That's something that will linger for a lifetime. Then, Olivia added, at least you had Phil to swoop in and help you. At that moment, a few boys walked past and remarked, Hey look, it's Phil Eggers' wife. The leader of the group turned to his friends. Guys, if we call Phil Mr. Pig, does that mean we should call her Mrs. Pig? His friends laughed. Kinda rolls off the tongue, right? Pam Pig. Another guy laughed and added, Oh, and here comes her husband, Mr. Pig now. Sure enough, up ahead, Phil Eggers was rounding the corner and approaching the tables in the cafeteria. Wow, would you look at that? Phil exclaimed, excitement evident in his expression. Look at how beautiful she is, my future wife. Upon hearing this remark, Pamela's face contorted into an expression of absolute displeasure. She abruptly turned her head, fixing her gaze on Phil. In a sharp tone, she rebuked, What nonsense are you spouting? Is there something wrong with you? But just as the words left her mouth, Pamela shifted her gaze and noticed a group of boys gazing at a magazine spread of a scantily clad singer-turned-actress named Yasmin Oso that had been affixed to a nearby pillar as a joke. It was only then that Pamela realized they were not referring to her. Oh, God. Now I look delusional, don't I? Pamela thought. I assumed Phil was talking to me, as if this moment couldn't get any worse. After being inexplicably scolded, the group of boys surrounded Pamela stood dumbfounded for a moment. It took a while for one of them to react and point at Pamela, saying, Wait, isn't this the girl who kissed Phil? Yes, dude. Why do you think I called her Mrs. Pig just now? The boys laughed. Students in Pamela and Olivia's class were always moving from one manufactured scandal to the next, so some of the boys had all but forgotten about Pamela's so-called kiss with Phil Eggers. That is, until now. As the other boys laughed, Phil scowled at Pamela. His growing frown dripped with disdain. Did you really just ask if there's something wrong with me? Are you unwell? Why are you scolding me? It was common knowledge in their class that Phil Eggers had a crush on the singer-turned-actress Yasmin Oso. When he was 13, he had tried to arrange for his father to get her to sing at his bar mitzvah, though she declined. Thus, whenever anyone encountered Yasmin Oso's posters or magazine covers or advertisements, they would tease Phil. He enjoyed the banter, though. It had always been this way. But now, being talked to so harshly by someone like Pamela angered him. Pamela felt embarrassed by Phil's rebuke and was at a loss for words. But Olivia's standing right behind me, and I don't want her to be able to find this funny, Pamela thought. After hesitating for a while, Pamela pouted and muttered to Phil, I wasn't referring to you. Then pray tell, who were you addressing? Phil's temper flared up in response to Pamela. Seriously, how audacious is this girl? Phil thought. Is she really going to try to gaslight me in front of everyone, after embarrassing me before no less? If not for the fact that Pamela was a girl, he would have rolled up his sleeves and confronted her already. Pamela stammered. The cafeteria was bustling with people at that moment. If she didn't seize this opportunity to explain herself, the misunderstanding would only deepen over time. Come on, spit it out. Phil furrowed his brow. You're lucky you're a girl, otherwise I'd say we should take this outside and handle this. Phil! Phil! The boy next to him hastily intervened, fearing that Phil might actually lose his cool on Pamela. Let's calm down and talk it out. Yeah, come on, dude, another said. We're in school right now, let's not create a scene. The other boys joined in, attempting to dissuade Phil. Yeah, don't talk to me like that, Pamela declared, growing bolder upon seeing Phil being restrained. She glared at him with defiance, as if preferring death over submitting to injustice. She pointed at him and added, It's not my fault you tried to give me mouth-to-mouth the other day. So now I have to constantly be vigilant around you since I'm not sure if you're coming on to me again. And for the record, I don't want to be associated with you either. Her face was pale as she bit her lower lip, but she wore a resolute expression. Phil and the others were startled by her outburst. Some of the people standing nearby even nodded in agreement with Pamela, whispering that maybe Phil had tried to use her fainting episode the other day as an excuse to get to first base with her. What is wrong with Phil? Two girls whispered at a nearby table. And why is he yelling that he's going to try to fight a girl? Those sitting on the periphery were unaware of the cause of the fight, but after seeing Phil threaten to fight Pamela, most whispered, Wow, Phil Eggers is super scary. Do you think he has a crush on her or something and she rejected his advances? As for those ignorant of the incident, they exchanged questioning glances while watching like bystanders around a car crash. Phil, you've gone too far. Girls deserve way better treatment than that, one girl admonished. Yeah, I agree, another girl exclaimed. Phil's behavior is way out of line. Even Millie chimed in. Phil, apologize immediately. You can't threaten to fight girls. Olivia watched. No, she thought. How was the crowd suddenly siding with Pamela? She practiced restraint, though, holding herself back before trying to use her powers to turn the tide against Pamela again. I promised I wouldn't use my powers in front of large groups, Olivia reminded herself. The crowd continued to criticize Phil, perplexing him greatly. Am I truly the one in the wrong? He thought. I'm the one who was scolded by this witch, and I never tried to kiss Pamela. I was helping her. Am I really the one to blame? He glanced at Pamela with disdain. Observing this, Pamela intensified her act. She locked eyes with Phil and claimed in a hushed tone, I have been utterly humiliated by you. Honestly, the names I've been called simply because you wanted to kiss me and used any excuse you could. It's disgusting. I'd honestly rather choke on my own saliva than endure another second of it. I can arrange that, Olivia mused, watching. God, she really wished she could take care of Pamela right now. If only there weren't so many innocent bystanders around. Olivia made a mental note to practice using her powers, so she could get better at harnessing them in the presence of others and when distracted. Pamela's heart brimmed with satisfaction after she dressed Phil down. It seemed the misunderstanding would finally be resolved. Moreover, now Pamela had witnesses who would accuse Phil of bullying a defenseless girl. Seeing Phil's contrite expression, she couldn't help but feel a sense of vindication. Who the hell do you think you are? Pamela thought, watching Phil. Why should I allow someone like you to threaten me? You lack real wealth, power, and even looks. You deserve to have everyone in this school hate you and think you're a violent, woman-hating, pervy creep. Olivia coldly observed the unfolding situation. She was well aware of Pamela's thoughts, actions, and intentions, so she fretted over the unfolding scene before her. Pamela's discontent is one of my greatest delights, Olivia thought, so I can't let her win this little dust-up with Phil, can I? I can't permit Pamela to enjoy a comfortable high school life this time around. Yes, Olivia suddenly stood up and spoke. Phil, your conduct was truly unbecoming. Pamela glanced at Olivia, confused. What the hell? She never stands up for me, Pamela thought. What was Olivia's intention doing so now? What was she planning? Meeting Pamela's inquisitive gaze, Olivia beamed brightly and continued. As a man, Phil, how can you honestly target the same girl over and over? Finally, comprehending Olivia's intentions, Pamela widened her eyes. She attempted to retort, No, Before she could utter a word, Olivia interjected. It's obvious you wanted to kiss Pamela the other day while giving her mouth-to-mouth. And you let everyone go around calling her your wife now? I mean, it's sort of obvious you guys are into each other. You were just expecting people to think you were a cute couple, and when they didn't, you both freaked out. Why else would you make such a big deal of calling some actress from a magazine spread your wife? It's like you want everyone to forget you're with Pamela now. What? That is so not true, Pamela objected. Back at Olivia's table, a soft chuckle escaped Jeremy's lips. This maneuver was truly cunning and quite ingenious. Olivia can't possibly believe what she's saying, he thought, but it's definitely effective at getting under Pamela's skin, I'll give her that. But when he looked around, Jeremy realized everyone else seemed to believe Olivia's version of events. Maybe Pamela and Phil really are together, one girl whispered, and they're too ashamed to say anything because they both want to be cool. Jeremy smiled. Who knows? Maybe Olivia's right. I guess I'm not too involved in the social scene to really know, he conceded. Phil looked so annoyed with both Pamela and Olivia now that he just huffed, turned, and then scurried back down the stairs to get some fresh air. Pamela stood there, embarrassed, wanting to say something, but worried Olivia would be able to twist her words and make her look even more dumb again. To onlookers, though, the matter seemed resolved, so students dispersed, engaging in conversations as they finished their lunches and walked away. One thing was certain to all who had witnessed the little skirmish between Pamela and Phil Eggers, however. Everyone had seemed to agree that Phil and Pamela were secretly dating, or at least liked one another, though reluctant to admit it. Olivia put her hands in her pockets and began packing up her lunch. She had finished eating, and the spectacle had come to an end. Shall we head down to the courtyard to get some sun for the rest of lunch? She asked Millie, Wendy, and now Jeremy, too. The others nodded and rose from their table. But before Olivia could even take 2 steps, Pamela stepped in front of her, her face filled with sorrow and indignation. Her voice trembled as she confronted Olivia, questioning her intentions. What the hell are you trying to pull, Olivia? You know, you have a real lack of compassion, Pamela accused. The anger within her was palpable. Hardly, Olivia thought. I just know from my last life what you're capable of, and I need to stop you before you have a chance to hurt me. And if that means dismantling you and your self-confidence piece by piece, so be it. Olivia, with a mischievous glint in her eye, smiled casually and replied, As the class president, it is my duty to seek the best for my classmates. And for you and Phil, that meant letting you guys live your truth out in the open for everyone to see. Olivia knew this fake benevolence would irk Pamela. It's okay, Pamela, I know you love him. Now you can let us all know too. Olivia's response only served to further infuriate Pamela, who struggled to maintain her composure. Through gritted teeth, she managed to say, Olivia, I will remember your ruthlessness. Unfazed, Olivia leaned in close to Pamela and whispered into her ear, Oh, I don't doubt that, but this is just the beginning. After uttering these words, Olivia took a step back and flashed a smile. We'll meet again in the classroom, Pamela. Ignoring Pamela's stunned and hateful gaze, Olivia passed by her, followed by Millie, Wendy, and even Jeremy. Before leaving, she added with a hint of sarcasm, "Oh wait, no. I should maybe call you future Mrs. Egger, shouldn't I?" With that parting shot, Olivia and her companions walked away. Pamela's eyes turned red as she glared at Olivia's retreating figure. "I'm going to ruin you, Olivia Johnson," she sneered. Once they exited the cafeteria, Olivia and her friends were bathed in warm sunlight. Olivia smiled, relishing the glow, and then instructed Millie and Wendy to accompany her for a stroll around the sports field that sat adjacent to the school. Without even needing to be invited, Jeremy automatically followed them. Maybe he likes Wendy back, Olivia thought. As the three girls leisurely walked around the field, engaged in cheerful conversation, Jeremy suddenly broke the silence. "Do you hold a grudge against Pamela, Olivia?" he asked directly. Olivia turned her head, noting that this was the first time Jeremy had ever addressed her by name. She was taken aback. He seemed to notice that his question was pretty direct, and he shrugged, backing off a little so he didn't come on too strong. "I just mean, it seemed like maybe things escalated a lot back there, and I didn't know if that was your intention, like maybe you didn't like her or something, so you wanted things to escalate?" A coy smile curved on Olivia's lips as she replied, "Do I hold a grudge? Yes. I have dedicated my new life to seeking revenge," Olivia thought. "In my home life, I will not let Monica or Rachel experience happiness. And here in high school, I won't allow Pamela to enjoy a peaceful existence for even a single second. Even in the future, when we part ways and enter university, I will ensure that that ungrateful villain Pamela suffers." There were many others as well, many who had wronged her in her last life and done things that contributed to her death. "One by one," Olivia smirked, "I will exact my revenge." Of course, Olivia didn't say this out loud. Still, while Jeremy couldn't hear Olivia's thoughts, her words lingered in his mind. "Do I hold a grudge? Yes." He pondered them as his gaze locked onto Olivia's eyes. After a prolonged silence, he nodded and walked away towards the Arts and Letters building without saying another word. Surprised by his sudden departure, Wendy took a moment to react. "Did he just leave without even responding?" she questioned, momentarily perplexed. "He must have been intimidated by me." Olivia chuckled, feeling a sense of accomplishment. The truth was, he hadn't even thought up a response. When she read his thoughts, he was only mulling over Liv's words before finally turning to go. "You're a strange one, Jeremy," Olivia thought. He was more mysterious than she'd given him credit for. Millie wore a somewhat serious expression as she remarked, "Are you truly serious about what you said just now? About harboring a grudge?" Olivia did not shy away from the truth and nodded resolutely in response. Perplexed, Wendy replied, "I thought you were joking. What do you have to hold a grudge over?" Olivia shrugged. There was too much to explain. She wasn't concerned with convincing her friends of the things she herself already knew about Pamela. "I guess I just see her for who she is, and I don't trust her," Olivia said. "Oh," Wendy said, contemplating this. "I guess I don't know her well, but I've always thought her eyes were super distant and cold, like she's unfeeling. And I suppose she is always scheming." Wendy frowned. Pamela always seemed to cause trouble out of nowhere, just as she did during lunch just now. "She's always coming up to us and starting crap. See? That's why I don't like her," Olivia explained. "And why shouldn't I get her back when she comes to us with trouble?" Millie, who didn't have a bad bone in her body, and who often found herself worrying needlessly, interjected, "But won't you suffer in the process?" "Yeah," Wendy adjusted her glasses and echoed. "I just think when we get involved in other people's drama, it only makes us feel worse." Olivia loved her friends, but inside she knew they just couldn't understand. She was like them once too, always striving to see the best in people and giving her enemies and bullies the benefit of the doubt. But after she died the first time, she could see people for who they really were. She could see how cunning and calculated they were, and she could read their thoughts and see their ulterior motives. The old her was someone who always assumed people had good hearts and who wrote off her own torment as simple misunderstandings. In her last life, Olivia blamed herself a lot for things that befell her. Not this time, though. She could understand why Millie and Wendy naturally wanted to see the best in everyone. But I know better, Olivia thought, so I'll act accordingly. The girls slowly made their way towards the school's vending machines, where Wendy peeled off from the other two so she could grab an ice-cold Dr. Pepper. "It's hot, and I need some caffeine," she mumbled before excusing herself. "I hope I didn't offend you just now, Mill," Olivia said softly to Millie once they were alone. "If you have any questions about what I meant about Pamela back there, feel free to ask." Olivia knew that Millie possessed a deeper understanding of people compared to Wendy. She was a better judge of character. "No need," Millie smiled. "I totally get what you mean about holding a grudge. As long as dealing with her doesn't change who you are, I'm happy. I just know what a good person you are, so I don't want you to ever stoop to anyone else's low, you know?" "God, you are so sweet," Olivia thought, eyeing her friend. "This is why you're my friend this time around and not Pamela. But still, you'll never understand what I have to do, so I just won't burden you with knowing about it." Olivia knew her revenge plan would weigh too heavily on Millie's heart, so she would spare her friend. "Thank you," Olivia smiled. "You're a great friend, Mill." "You're welcome," Millie responded, "and you are too." The two of them walked in silence, and suddenly Millie burst into laughter. "What?" Olivia asked. "What are you laughing at?" "Nothing, I guess if I think about it, it is slightly comedic how ridiculous Pamela's situation has become. I mean, people are seriously calling her Mrs. Pig. That's so rough, right?" Millie laughed. "You have quite a delayed reaction." Olivia blushed slightly. Only now did Millie find all this amusing. Millie continued laughing, while Olivia shook her head in amusement. The afternoon sun cast long shadows of their figures on the field. Perhaps years later, the two of them would recall this afternoon, holding hands and sharing hearty laughter. Olivia smiled, contented by the feeling of having someone she truly trusted and loved in her life. When they got to history class after lunch, Wendy rejoined them. The three friends conversed near Olivia's desk until the bell signaled the start of class. The teacher entered the room and discussed an upcoming test while students groaned in their seats. Olivia had little hope for this exam. Almost everyone at Marshall High excelled academically, so Olivia didn't stand a chance at being top of her class like she had been in her last school. In fact, in her previous life, Olivia had consistently ranked at the bottom of the class on most final exams, standardized tests, and college entrance exams. However, being enrolled in Marshall had its advantages, as even with such mediocre grades, she managed to secure admission to a decent university in her last life. The only regret was that she had to pursue majors that didn't align with her interests, because she spent so much time trying to please her family back then. "We should get a study group going for that test," Olivia whispered to Millie while the teacher droned on and on. "I'm in," Wendy chimed in. Olivia was so preoccupied chatting and hearing the thoughts of the students in her immediate vicinity that she didn't notice Francis Peters, the new transfer student, watching her from behind. He wore a cold sneer as he thought, "This girl seems so basic. Is she really the class president? Is she really all that special at all?" With a disdainful smile, Francis raised his hand to go to the bathroom, and then got up and left the classroom. He hated having to think about upcoming exams, and hated having to pretend he cared about such things at all. But the thought of having to face his mother, who constantly whined and nagged at him when he got bad grades, gave him a headache. "My mom is a special brand of annoying," he thought. When he was alone in the hallway, he was surprised to see Pamela Cox approaching him, her face fixed with a perfectly polite smile. "Francis, right? Is everything all right? Were you lost?" No, just finding my way to the bathroom," he said, taking the scenic route. Pamela laughed a little too hard at this. "Good one," she said, sucking up to him in hopes that she would strike up a friendship. "Is there anything you need help with? I know it's your first day, so please don't hesitate to ask." "No." Francis glanced at the girl who had lunch with him earlier. She's coming on a bit strong, he thought. Did she leave class just to talk to me alone in the hall? What is it? He asked finally when he saw Pamela didn't have plans on moving. Nothing, I'm just being friendly, seeing if my new classmate needs anything. Pamela replied with a gentle smile. You're not the class president who's been assigned to introduce me like I'm an idiot who can't introduce myself. Why do you care about me? Francis shot Pamela a suspicious look before turning to leave. His words struck Pamela like a blow. If it weren't for Olivia, that wench, I would have been the class president, and then I'd have an excuse to get close to Francis. Pamela seethed. I'd be able to hang out with him under the guise of showing him around school. But it's stupid Olivia who snatched away what rightfully belonged to me yet again. Recalling the humiliation from earlier, Pamela clenched her fists. She swore to exact revenge on Olivia. But I'll get her back twofold for what she's done to me, Pamela promised herself. I'll outperform her in school and in her social life. After school got out for the day, Jeremy shuffled out of his final class as everyone filled the halls chatting and laughing. As he approached his locker, he noticed Pamela staring off beside her own locker. She had a gloomy expression. He followed her gaze and saw her staring at Olivia, who stood across the hall by the water fountains about 100 feet away, her back to both of them. The words Olivia uttered in the afternoon echoed in his mind. Do I hold a grudge? Yes. Olivia's dangerous, Jeremy thought, scrutinizing her. Although she intrigued him, it was not wise for him to get too close. He needed to maintain a distance. Only 3 years, he reminded himself. Just 3 years. After 3 years, I can leave Manhattan and return to San Francisco, my home. That was his world, his battlefield. These 3 years had been exchanged for his family's dignity. He had to conserve his energy and make proper arrangements. He had to wait until he returned to San Francisco, and then he could reclaim everything that belonged to him. After leaving the school grounds, Jeremy walked around the corner and got into a black Bentley. Good afternoon, sir. His driver glanced at Jeremy through the rearview mirror. Are we heading home? Yes, Jeremy replied. Sir, I've obtained the information about the person you asked me to find the other day, the driver informed him. That won't be necessary, Jeremy told his driver. He looked out the window. I have all the information I need for the moment. Understood, the driver replied and started the car. In his heart, he sighed with relief. He had grown fond of Jeremy after being tasked with driving him around and keeping an eye on him, and he didn't want Jeremy to get into any trouble while in the city. People back in San Francisco were still keeping an eye on the young teen. The following morning, Olivia woke up late, then ran downstairs, rushed through breakfast, and jumped into the car just as Monica was about to tell Morris to leave without her. Olivia finally took a deep breath and felt she could relax when she finally arrived at her first period class just as the bell rang. Upon entering the classroom, she heard everyone discussing the incredibly handsome transfer student they had seen earlier this morning. I want to marry him, one girl thought. Well, that's not all I want to do with him, but that's part of it. Olivia furrowed her brow. Who? Francis? She thought, perplexed. Francis was not handsome, so why were people suddenly talking about him like he was? Olivia settled into her seat and listened to their animated chatter. After a few minutes, a girl seated 2 desks over from Olivia said, I didn't catch his last name, but he's a senior, and his first name is Chris. Olivia remained silent, but she couldn't help smiling. Her plan was finally coming together. So, she thought, Chris Jones transferred here after all. Looking around the room, she then thought, and one thing is clear. Every other girl in the school seems to notice Chris's charm, too. After the first period ended, Wendy and Millie gathered around Olivia. Liv, you missed it, Wendy gushed. Earlier this morning, this super hot guy walked up to me in the courtyard, and he clearly wasn't from Marshall. He stopped me and asked for directions to the principal's office to meet with his student guide. He's another new transfer, apparently, and Wendy literally will not stop talking about him. Millie chuckled. I've heard other people talking about him, too. They say he's drop-dead gorgeous and claims to have arrived in a sapphire blue Porsche. So that sports car was a Porsche, Wendy exclaimed with newfound knowledge. I thought I saw him get out of it, but I wasn't sure. It's so cool. Ah, yes. Olivia knew that it was Chris's driver, Dean, who must have driven him. I'm familiar with that car, Olivia thought. Liv, you don't understand. He's like insanely hot. Wendy's eyes sparkled like stars. He seems to be a senior. Yeah, he is, Olivia confirmed, and his driver is named Dean. How do you know? Millie narrowed her eyes. Do you know him? Well, I've seen him around. Our families are familiar, Olivia replied vaguely. She wanted to maintain a peaceful high school life. While many people in her family's social circle knew about her engagement to Chris Jones, less people at Marshall High were familiar with their situation. Most of the teens who heard the engagement announcement at Rachel's birthday banquet went to other high schools, and Olivia's half-sister Monica was too preoccupied with the social politics of her own sophomore class to busy herself with what was going on with the juniors and seniors. Wow, that's amazing, Wendy exclaimed. Should we invite him to have lunch with us? Maybe, Olivia played coy. Although maybe we should let him settle in first. Let him come to us. She smiled. Though she wished to get closer to Chris in the long run, it didn't mean she needed to be immediately overly familiar with him at school. If you say so, Wendy shrugged. Hey, where should we have lunch today? Outside or in the cafeteria? Olivia laughed. Wendy was always looking forward to lunch because she relished the one time a day she could socialize instead of focusing on her studies or extracurricular activities. The cafeteria. Olivia pursed her lips. Hey, Jeremy, you want to have lunch with us at noon? Wendy asked Jeremy, who sat beside Olivia. Olivia watched as Wendy recalled their previous shared meal with affection. No thanks. Jeremy declined directly. I want to maintain a distance from her, he thought, which took Olivia by surprise. She was pretty sure the her he was referring to was Olivia. Why? Olivia wondered. She continued reading his thoughts, but all he was thinking now was, it would be better not to eat together again and have some time alone. What a pity, Wendy shrugged, interrupting Olivia's mind reading. She didn't know why, but she felt Jeremy was a bit cold and distant. It seemed challenging to get close to him. So it's settled. We're going to the cafeteria for lunch, Millie declared, pulling both her friends' focus to her. As she spoke, the class bell rang again, signaling the beginning of class. Pamela, who had been listening to everyone's conversation, knew about the mysterious transfer student, Chris, too. Part of her wanted to see what all the fuss was about and explore whether she could maybe integrate herself with this new hot potential friend, but ultimately she decided to play it safe instead. She was going to stick with Francis in the afternoon because she had already started working on becoming his friend. Besides, she needed to see the transfer student with her own eyes before deciding whether or not to target Chris. As she contemplated her plan, Pamela silently encouraged herself. What happened yesterday was in the past, she thought, pushing her little humiliations behind her. Today marks a fresh start. Don't give up on yourself or your aspirations now. Her lips curled as she thought about Francis and about this mysterious Chris fellow, and all the potential power and access each man could bring her. When lunchtime rolled around, students slowly exited the classroom in small groups. Upon reaching the cafeteria, Olivia took charge of securing seats, while Millie and Wendy took care of getting the food. Scanning the vicinity, Olivia spotted an unoccupied long table meant for 8 people. After taking her seat, Olivia quietly observed the bustling crowd of students, hoping to catch sight of Wendy and Millie amidst the sea of people. Olivia spotted Francis swiftly approaching. Soon, he took a seat next to Olivia. She was surprised. Yesterday, he was so dismissive and seemed like he hated it here when I read his thoughts, she thought. But when Francis nodded at her as a greeting, she tried to imitate his nonchalance, as if this was normal, and nodded back. Soon after, Pamela joined them, settling down opposite Francis. Seeing her, Francis furrowed his brows but remained silent. The dining hall was open to all, and he had no say in where she chose to sit. Olivia could see Francis's irritation and smiled. So I'm not the only one who finds Pamela to be an annoying suck-up who tries too hard and comes on too strong. Pamela, who also noticed Olivia's presence, shot her a glare before putting on a smile. "Did you get enough to eat, Francis?" She leaned forward. "I'm cool with the cafeteria workers, so they give me extra portions if you want any." "It's enough," Francis replied curtly, focusing on his own meal. Pamela scowled. Why was he so rude? Meanwhile, Wendy and Millie finished picking up food for themselves and Olivia and approached the table. "Got you some ramen," Wendy announced, placing the bowl in front of Olivia. "And I got you a corn dog," Millie added, setting the plate down beside the soup. "Thank you," Olivia replied. She glanced at Millie and Wendy's dishes and made a suggestion. "Millie, I'll trade you a piece of corn dog for a rib." "Sure, help yourself," Millie responded. "Gwen, you want a piece too?" "Okay," Wendy happily agreed. As the three friends chatted and ate, a mysterious figure approached their table. "Excuse me, would you mind switching seats with me?" the person asked. The trio turned their attention towards the voice, and after a moment, Wendy pointed at herself in confusion. "Me?" "Yes," the person nodded. It was Chris. The nerve, Olivia thought, though she noticed herself smiling. He had come up right to her and her friends and requested that her best friend move so he could sit next to Liv. It was so bold. And, if she was being honest, attractive. "All right," Wendy complied, moving to sit opposite Millie so Chris could scoot in next to Olivia. She watched with curiosity as the newcomer settled beside her friend. Olivia turned her head to face her table's new uninvited guest. "What a coincidence seeing you here, Mr. Jones." "A coincidence?" Chris smiled. "I specifically sought you out." "Why would you do that?" Olivia forced a smile. "You skipped out on the opportunity to meet all your senior classmates just to find me?" "You're the only person I know at Marshall High," Chris replied, narrowing his eyes. "If not you, then who else should I look for?" Olivia felt Chris had misunderstood something. While she did request his transfer, it didn't mean she had to take care of him. He was perfectly capable of looking after himself, and it would actually help her if he established a name for himself here on his own as well. "Are you two acquainted well?" Millie inquired, glancing at Chris and then Olivia. "I thought Liv said they didn't know each other well," Millie thought. "Not really," Olivia responded. "Actually, we're very familiar," Chris contradicted at the same time. The simultaneous voices instantly confused Wendy. "Millie, I smell something fishy." "I sense it too." Millie pretended to sniff the air. "It smells like actual raw fish." It took Olivia a second to realize they weren't speaking in metaphors. It really did smell like fish. Everyone's heads at the table turned towards the source of the smell and saw Jeremy standing just over their shoulders with a plate of sushi. Olivia rolled her eyes. Rich kids' skills always have selections like fresh sushi, she thought, which makes for an interesting experience smell-wise. Noticing everyone's gaze, Jeremy placed the plate next to Wendy and took a seat. "Huh?" Wendy asked, puzzled. "Weren't you avoiding us?" "There were no more seats available," Jeremy replied. "Never mind." Wendy dismissed the matter, trying to hide that she was disappointed that Jeremy wasn't sitting here because he'd realized he liked her. "It's not important." She then redirected her attention to Olivia and Chris. So when did you two meet?" Wendy displayed a keen interest in the dynamics between the two. "Not too long ago," Chris glanced at Olivia. "Although our acquaintance is recent, we've been through a lot together." "It's nothing special," Olivia shrugged. So many of their encounters together had been born out of conflict, and she wasn't willing to regale everyone with their stories right now. "I knew it," Wendy nodded thoughtfully. If Olivia said they hadn't known each other long, then it must be true. "Chris, your accent doesn't sound like it's from New York. Where are you from?" Millie inquired. "I was born in London," Chris replied. "Ah, I knew it. That's what I'd guessed when I heard the accent," Millie beamed. Olivia tilted her head, looking at Chris. If you want to eat, go order for yourself. Nah, lines are too long and I'm impatient, Chris replied confidently. I'll just eat yours. He shot her a wink. She could sense her friends watching the exchange, trying to suss out what this relationship was. Not a chance. Olivia protectively guarded her food, placing her arm in front of her bowl of noodles. The ramen tended to sell out quickly, and she wasn't about to share with Chris. Get your own, Jones. I don't know where to look. Chris spread his hands innocently. If I'm going to confide in a regular school, the least you could do is help a poor little soul like me out, right? Olivia smiled and rolled her eyes. Chris, what would you like to eat? Give me the money, and I'll buy it for you, Wendy offered. No need, Chris smiled. I was just teasing her. With that, he stood up and made his way towards the food stalls. Liv, Wendy exclaimed as soon as Chris left. Okay, tell us honestly now, what is the deal with you two and your relationship? What kind of relationship does it look like we have? Olivia smiled. It's transactional, she thought, though she didn't say so aloud. Stop fooling around. Wendy patted Olivia's hand. Tell us already, because you two seem like very flirty. Olivia rolled her eyes. I want to enjoy my ramen, she smiled, and not give Chris the satisfaction of talking about him. Trust me, everyone else is talking about him plenty already. As all of this unfolded, Pamela's eyes widened. She had sat stunned, unable to make a coherent sentence, or even compose herself long enough to say hello as soon as Chris approached. Who is this guy? She wondered. He's so incredibly attractive. Wasn't he the transfer student who arrived at school in a Porsche or something? Why would such a guy end up next to Olivia? How is this even possible? While Pamela privately fumed just feet from Olivia, Olivia sat reading her thoughts and smiling. Just you wait, Olivia thought. This is the guy who's going to help me make your life a living hell. Wendy was intrigued by the nature of Chris and Olivia's relationship for the remainder of lunch. Jeremy pretended to eat his meal while stealing glances at Chris from time to time. Pamela, meanwhile, ceased conversing with Frances entirely, and instead devoted her attention to eavesdropping on the conversation of the adjacent table. After lunch, Frances quickly left the cafeteria with a deep-seated feeling that Pamela was more enigmatic and confusing than he had originally expected. One second, she's trying so hard. The next, she's not even talking to me, he thought. When Chris Jones left the cafeteria, he was summoned to the office by a teacher to finish filling out his entrance paperwork. Wendy and Millie promptly whisked Olivia aside for an interrogation. Jeremy, on the other hand, returned to their classroom, admonishing himself for caring too much about what others were doing. Spill it. Wendy placed her hands on her hips. Your earlier explanation about you two being familiar doesn't match what I'm seeing now. What did I tell you? Olivia found it amusing. I didn't say anything. In the morning, you explicitly stated that you two weren't super well acquainted, Millie said, but you guys seem way closer than you made it sound. Olivia scrutinized the earnest expressions of her two companions and then finally admitted candidly, All right, I'll tell you. But don't be too shocked and definitely don't make a big deal of it. Go on. Millie and Wendy nodded in unison. Come closer. Olivia beckoned with a gesture of her finger. The two leaned in, and Olivia whispered a few words into their ears. He's your fiancé? Wendy exclaimed. Shh. Olivia quickly made a shushing gesture with her index finger. It may have been normal for some elite families to arrange for their children to one day marry, but that didn't mean every wealthy kid in a school like Marshall High would understand. Not every family was well-connected or wealthy or desired enough to promise their teen children to another family in order to solidify business alliances. So Olivia knew other people at Marshall High might make a big deal if they found out Chris and Olivia were technically engaged already, before understanding what that actually meant. Didn't I tell you not to be too surprised? Oops, sorry. Wendy immediately covered her mouth and nodded. This news is utterly astounding, Millie chimed in, her expression one of shock. You can't blame Wendy for her reaction. If it weren't for my strong composure, I would have blurted it out too. Is it truly that sensational? Olivia found it amusing. Absolutely, Wendy affirmed it with certainty. But, Millie smiled, to become engaged to the Jones family of London, Olivia, your background must be quite remarkable. I didn't realize your families go back so far together. Yeah, I didn't either, I guess. Olivia smiled mysteriously. What's the deal with the Jones family from London? Wendy was perplexed. I'm not familiar with them, should I be? Nah, just some old rich families with long histories of being politically and socially powerful. It's not important if you don't understand, Olivia said. It's all just hoity-toity stuff, really. They headed towards the direction of the Arts and Letters building. You both have to tell me. If you do, I'll understand. Wendy chased after them, pleading, Tell me! Rich families just like to set their kids up so they can keep their generational wealth going and their ties close, Olivia explained. And the Jones family has a bunch of money and companies in Europe and some in America. So they want to grow bigger in America by getting close to my dad's family. And voila, now I'm engaged. As they continued their animated conversation, the three friends walked farther and farther away. Behind them, though, behind the pillar where they had just stood moments before, Pamela covered her mouth in astonishment. That mysterious transfer student was in fact a member of the Jones family in London? The oil and shipping magnates, and ones who had presidents and prime ministers in their family? Pamela thought. And he was Olivia's fiancé? From shock to envy, Pamela's eyes gradually turned malevolent. Why does Olivia always have everything? Chris was clearly a perfect match for me. So why is he predestined to be Olivia's fiancé? Pamela shook her head. Olivia had gone too far. Why does she always oppose me and compete with me for everything? In that moment, Pamela glared as she watched Olivia disappear down the hallway. I'm going to seize back everything. Not just the position of class president next year, but everything. And as for Chris, I can't wait to witness Olivia's tears and pleas. With a disdainful but resolute snort, Pamela turned and headed towards her locker. In their next class, Millie and Wendy surrounded Olivia, engaged in lively conversation. On the other side of the room, Frances pursued an online gaming magazine, engrossed in a discussion with a group of boys about the forthcoming VR video game. It was evident that Francis had a genuine passion for VR games, even more so than he had said when he introduced himself to the class previously. I heard this game is the final masterpiece of Jai de Groot, Francis said proudly. It's called Fall of the Sun. Upon hearing the name, Jai, Olivia also cast a glance at the magazine in Francis's hands. The moment she saw the cover, she knew which game they were discussing. Although she had no interest in the game itself, she was well acquainted with its significance. Jai was a Dutch designer who worked at TK Games. After completing the first installment of Mountain Sirens, Jai vanished for 3 years, eventually resurfacing as the chief designer of Givenchy. Jai single-handedly designed all the bottle bodies for Givenchy's limited edition perfume series, since he was known to be a genius, once-in-a-generation artist who could do everything from sculpture to making VR video games. In her previous life, Olivia was a devoted admirer of the Givenchy perfume and a die-hard fan of Jai. Hence, she had played the games out of admiration for its creator. Seeing the magazine cover now brought a sense of surprise and nostalgia. Jai's game is apparently going to be a huge technological leap in VR gaming, another boy in class said. At least that's what critics are saying. That makes sense. Francis was nodding knowingly. VR technology is still in its infancy, so it's understandable that this game might be really advanced compared to others. But TK Games hasn't produced anything noteworthy in recent years, Francis commented disdainfully. I just wonder if Jai's past his prime. Fall of the Sun could be a massive failure. Olivia rolled her eyes. Why does Francis speak with such smug confidence, like he knows everything? She wondered to herself. Nonsense, Olivia interjected. This game not only exhibits the same level of artistry and musicality we're used to, but also boasts superior controls that surpass any other VR game. There's no way it'll be a failure. She had been thoroughly impressed when she played the game in her previous life. Francis curled his lips in disdain. How would you know? He thought. It hasn't even come out yet. You act as if you know so much about games, he said dismissively. He hated when people butted into conversations and tried to sound smart, especially women. For all we know, it could be terrible. Hearing Frances's thoughts, Olivia's eyes narrowed. You really don't like women, do you? She thought. Are you willing to bet on that? Olivia challenged Frances. She wished she could use her powers to trip or hurt him right now, but there were too many people around, so she had to settle for simply proving him wrong for the time being. She wouldn't dare ever make a claim about other VR games, but she happened to know about this game from her past life, so she wouldn't back down in this particular case. What are we betting? Frances cocked an eyebrow. He wasn't about to back down from a bet. He had spent 2 or 3 years studying VR technology, so if Olivia was challenging him on this topic, he wasn't about to back down. $500. Olivia stood up, crossing her arms. I bet Jai's new game is the best VR game there has been, and it represents a huge technological leap forward. I don't take bets on things that are a matter of opinion and not facts, Frances sneered. Sorry, it's not worth betting on. Very well, Olivia responded coldly. Then I bet you that you'll get stuck at the broken wall in the 3rd level. In her previous life, this particular section of the game had posed a significant challenge, with many struggling to overcome it. Eventually, a gamer figured out a way to circumvent the obstacle. But before that, most people gave up after level 3 because of it. Olivia herself had died dozens of times before successfully following the game's winning strategy that took her to level 4. Frances scrutinized Olivia in silence for a minute. How do you know about some broken wall in the 3rd level if the game's not even out yet? Olivia smiled, knowing she had to think on her feet to avoid having to explain how she played it in her last life. I read an article from a critic who got to play the game early. He cocked an eyebrow. What? Girls can read too? Did you not know? She shrugged. I'm getting the game next week, so unless you're too afraid to lose in front of everyone, I guess you can take the bet and see if you'll get stuck at the broken wall. Or you can just claim to be the expert on VR games without ever playing any in front of us. All right, Frances agreed finally. 500 is too dull, though. I'll add another 500. 1,000. I absolutely won't get stuck at the 3rd level if that's what you think. What kind of joke was this? He wouldn't allow himself to be trapped at the 3rd level. I'm an elite gamer. He scoffed in his head. Deal, Olivia coldly snorted. She couldn't help herself. She suddenly found herself wanting to humiliate Frances in every possible way, remembering all the times he had helped Pamela succeed in Olivia's past life. You'll pay for that, she thought. You'll pay for blindly following Pamela and for questioning me now. Over the next few days, Olivia and Frances fell into a strange, silent rivalry as they waited the release of The Fall of the Sun. Even their gaze would evade each other whenever they crossed paths. The entire class had become an audience to their silent rivalry, fully aware of the weight behind the $1,000 wager. It was no small sum, and though most of the students had limited knowledge about VR games, they understood that such an amount of money could buy plenty of things. Instinctively, most students rooted for Olivia's victory, as she was the more popular of the two. But the reality was that boys like Frances held an advantage in gaming. Moreover, Olivia had boldly claimed that Frances wouldn't even make it past the 3rd level. This raised eyebrows and the sense of anticipation surrounding the game's release. Those who had experience playing games knew that in general, the difficulty level increased as one progressed. The initial levels were usually the easiest, so Olivia's confident assertion about having difficulty in level 3 was so compelling and provocative that it felt like a waste to bet against her. Meanwhile, as Olivia prepared to face Frances in a VR game showdown, Pamela harbored her own hidden agenda. She pursued Frances while discreetly observing Chris Jones, hoping to win both of them over eventually. Pamela reveled in the discord between Olivia and Frances, as it brought her great satisfaction. As the class president, Olivia's most important job was to manage the entire class and avoid offending people as their representative. This is something Olivia clearly is unable to grasp, Pamela thought with a smile. She has clearly insulted Frances by betting against him, and if she wins against him, that will only alienate him more. And then he'll definitely align himself with me against her, and then we can turn more people against her. Pamela vowed never to allow herself to become the target of laughter again. I will be the last one standing, ready to have the final laugh. Meanwhile, as the silent feud between Olivia and Frances dragged on, midterm exams arrived. These were especially important for the 11th grade students, since they were the final grades that would be reported on college applications. The entire junior class therefore approached the 2-day examination period with utmost seriousness. The results would be released gradually on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, with parent-teacher conferences scheduled for Friday. Everyone, including Olivia, was nervous. Just what I need, she thought. Something mundane like school exams getting in the way of me plotting my revenge. After she finished her midterm exams, Olivia spotted Michael's driver, Ansel Parr, stepping out of the family mansion as she arrived home. It seemed that he was just leaving. "Miss Olivia, hello," her father's driver greeted her politely. "Ansel, are you available on Friday?" Olivia inquired. "Friday? I think so," Ansel Parr pondered. "What time specifically?" "At 5 o'clock in the afternoon," Olivia explained. "The school is hosting a parent-teacher conference, and I want Dad to attend. He has a meeting in the city on Friday afternoon, but the exact timing is yet to be determined." Ansel Parr responded. "Miss, why don't you ask Mr. Johnson directly?" "Good thinking, Ansel," Olivia nodded. "Take care." "Yes, Miss Olivia," Ansel smiled. Though it was a simple farewell, Olivia's words warmed his heart. Compared to Rachel, who always seemed to look down on the servants, and compared to Monica's unreasonable arrogance, he preferred young Olivia's kindness. Hearing Ansel's thoughts, Olivia smiled. She felt good knowing she had made him feel good. After placing her school bag in her room, Olivia hurried to Michael's study and knocked on the door. "Dad, you inside?" "Come in." Michael shifted his gaze from the proposal he was working on to Olivia, who had just pushed open the door. "Liv, what is it?" "Dad," Olivia closed the door and approached Michael's desk. "Do you have any free time around 5 o'clock on Friday?" Michael pondered for a moment. "I think I'll be busy with work. Why? What do you need?" Nothing." Olivia abandoned her idea upon hearing his response. After all, her mother Victoria had moved closer to Marshall High, so it would probably be more convenient to have her attend the parent-teacher conference anyway. "Really?" Michael looked at Olivia as if sensing that she had something more to say. However, before he could inquire further, the maid knocked on the door and announced that dinner was ready. Michael didn't press on and proceeded down the hall with Olivia to have their meal. Observing Michael and Olivia happily conversing in the dining room, Monica scowled with jealousy. Since Olivia's arrival, it was evident that Michael favored her, even going as far as to walk arm in arm with Olivia as they talked. The jealousy within Monica intensified. As Michael took his seat at the table, Monica rolled his eyes and suddenly said, "Dad, my school bag has broken. Can you buy me a new one?" "I'm sure your mom will want to buy it for you," Michael replied, glancing at Monica. Usually matters concerning Monica were handled by Rachel anyway, because Rachel liked taking an active role in Monica's upbringing. "No, I want you to buy it for me," Monica pouted, feigning a look of grievance. "All right." Michael recalled that he would be visiting Broadway in the city the following day to inspect a new restaurant his restaurant group was opening. He could simply purchase one then. "Thank you, Daddy," Monica beamed with joy. Throughout the dinner, she intentionally provoked Olivia multiple times with snarky little asides and various barbs, but Olivia couldn't be bothered to respond. "I'll deal with you soon enough," Olivia thought. "For now, I have everything at school to deal with." The next day, while Michael inspected the restaurant on Broadway and eyed the many stores outside, he thought about buying a backpack for Monica. He originally intended for Ansel Parr to handle the purchase, but he couldn't help but recall the elation on Olivia's face when she received a bag from him. With that in mind, Michael strolled from the restaurant to the shops, determined to choose a bag for Monica himself. Ansel Parr accompanied him, assisting with the process. It had been many years since Michael had last visited these stores, and even selecting a school bag felt overwhelming. After more than an hour of searching, He finally settled on a pink and white crossbody sports backpack. That night in the living room, Michael handed the backpack to Monica. As she took it out of the gift bag it had been wrapped in, she prepared to smile as she showed off to Olivia. But when she saw it, she immediately froze. This bag wasn't a globally renowned or luxury brand. It was a Nike women's backpack. At first glance, it was clearly inferior to Olivia's. Instantly, Monica was consumed by anger. "I don't want this!" Monica hurled her school bag onto the floor. "What is this? You treated Olivia so well and gave me this weird bag?" Rachel's expression went from calm to distraught, witnessing Monica's actions. Olivia's lips curled into a cold smile as she observed the scene. "Here goes Monica," Olivia thought, "making trouble for herself." The atmosphere within the living room instantly turned icy, and Michael's once warm smile froze upon witnessing Monica's behavior. Rachel clenched her fists, her mind racing to find a solution for her foolish child. She wondered, is Monica deliberately trying to hurt Michael by rejecting the bag he personally chose? Rachel's heart filled with anxiety as she desperately tried to salvage the situation. She stooped down to retrieve the discarded school bag and offered it to Monica, saying, "Look again, it's actually quite pretty." She even gave Monica a pleading look, hoping she would reconsider. Monica glanced at Rachel's expression but chose to ignore it. In her mind, this was clearly a blatant act of favoritism on her father's part. Regardless of her own shortcomings, she was still an heiress in the esteemed Johnson family. "I don't like this hideous bag, Mom," she exclaimed, vehemently pushing the bag out of Rachel's hand and onto the floor. "Is Dad looking down on me with this cheap thing?" As she dwelled on her grievances, Monica pursed her lips and blinked her eyes, allowing tears to well up. Rachel was left speechless, her hopes of remedying the situation shattered. Monica's barrage of careless words had undoubtedly hurt Michael deeply. Any further attempts to try and ameliorate the situation seemed futile. "If you don't like it," Michael's voice trembled slightly as he addressed Monica. "Liv, can I give it to you?" Michael turned to Olivia with a solemn, somber look on his face. Olivia picked up the Nike backpack and smiled. "Oh my God, of course! Can I really have it?" She looked at him with a humble twinkle in her eye and grinned with gratitude, in stark contrast to her sister. "I really like this bag. Having 2 school bags would be great, and I can use this one once I start track practice again once my ankle's all better." Michael's eyes finally brightened as he looked at Olivia. "You like it?" he asked, a glimmer of hope in his gaze. "Yes, I like it very much. And you bought it, so that makes it extra special," Olivia responded with a smile. She knew well that Monica had no idea what was truly valuable. This bag was chosen personally by Michael, yet Monica had cast it aside like a worn-out shoe. Witnessing Monica's actions, Olivia couldn't help but grin. Monica was perplexed by Olivia's reaction to the bag. What did she like so much about the bag? And why was she so happy? Didn't she see that Monica was angry? Why was she smiling so much? Olivia slung the school bag over her shoulder and walked around asking Michael, "Dad, does it look good?" "It looks great," Michael replied with a pale, weak smile. His daughter, who had been by his side for 15 years, had rejected the gift he had personally chosen for her. Meanwhile, his other daughter, who had just recently moved in with him, was filled with joy. The discrepancy between their reactions left him heartbroken. Olivia chuckled and took off her bag, cradling it in her arms. She glanced playfully at Rachel, who stared back with a mix of hatred and jealousy. Olivia understood that every time she carried this bag in the future, it would be a strong blow to Rachel and her daughter. "So I'll be sure to bring it everywhere," she thought. Provoking Rachel further, Olivia innocently shrugged her shoulders as if to say, "Your daughter doesn't know what's good for her. Why are you staring at me? You should probably spend some more time teaching her how to be more like me." Unsatisfied with the outcome, Monica leaned in towards Michael and exclaimed, "Daddy, you must scold your driver. He must have bought that bag for you while you were busy." "This has nothing to do with my driver," Michael sighed, rising from his seat. "I bought this bag myself. Besides, it's Olivia's now, so everyone can be happy. She can have a bag she's actually grateful to have, and you can go with your mom to get one you'd be happy with. Whatever that is, clearly, I don't know." With those words, he left the dining room and retreated to his study. Monica was completely stunned. Michael had personally bought the bag for her. She looked at Rachel in disbelief, realizing the disappointment and regret on Mom's face. Monica was left dumbfounded. Olivia couldn't help but burst into laughter upon witnessing Monica's expression. Deliberately adjusting the straps of her school bag, she remarked, "The quality of this bag is truly excellent." With that, she happily ascended the stairs to her room, leaving Monica and Rachel staring at each other. "Mommy, Monica's regret surged within her, setting her insides alight. "Monica, you really messed up this time. We're supposed to be on our best behavior right now." Rachel felt like it was too pointless to say anything more and sighed heavily. "What's the use with you?" "Well, what should I do, Mommy?" Monica panicked. Had she said too much? What about her bag now? Her father definitely wouldn't buy her a new one. But I wanted a limited edition, she thought. "You should be more obedient and choose your words carefully," Rachel snapped. Her temples throbbed. Monica bit her lower lip and weakly asked, "When will I get a new bag?" She had deliberately broken her old school bag, hoping her father would buy her a new one. Did she now have to carry around a broken bag to school? "Are you still fixated on your stupid bag?" Rachel's voice rose suddenly as she slammed her hand on the table, her eyes filled with anger. Monica trembled in fear and dared not utter another word. Rachel took a deep breath, forcing herself to calm down. "I'll take you to buy a new one this Friday after school." Hearing that Rachel was willing to buy her new bag, Monica breathed a sigh of relief. She had originally intended to mention a few extravagant designer brands she'd been eyeing, but faced with Rachel's angry gaze, she thought better of it. "Oh, Monica, if you continue like this, you'll end up being compared to Olivia for the rest of your life," Rachel sighed, "and not in a way that works in your favor." "That brat?" Monica grew furious at the mention of Olivia. "I'm better than her." "Then prove it," Rachel snapped. Seeing Monica's face grow red with anger, Rachel didn't dare provoke her daughter any further. She still vividly remembered the last time Monica had lost control. It only made Michael worry even more that Monica couldn't be trusted with his family business one day. "How could that brat surpass me?" Monica thought. "It shouldn't be possible." Monica glared at Rachel. "Mommy, do you remember what you told me before? You said you wanted her dead. You said my cousin Beatrix was going to help us—" "Shh!" Rachel quickly lunged forward and covered her daughter's mouth. They were still in the dining room, with plenty of prying eyes and ears around. "How could I forget?" Rachel thought, watching her daughter. "It's all I think about." By the time Friday morning arrived, all midterm exam results had been sent out, and students were preparing for their parent-teacher conferences. But as if that wasn't nerve-wracking enough, the school also posted student rankings for each grade online that morning, so students could see where they stood in their class relative to everyone else. The principal claims the rankings are supposed to help encourage academic excellence, her teacher Adam said. "But I think it just encourages competition and makes people want to cheat to be as close to number one in their grade." Olivia, upon seeing her ranking, remained remarkably composed. Her grades weren't as impressive as she had hoped, but she was determined to improve them by the end of the semester. Observing the results of Millie and Wendy, Olivia nodded approvingly. Millie deserved the top spot in class, and Wendy's 17th place ranking in their class was commendable as well. "Liv, your results." Millie narrowed her eyes slightly when she snuck a peek at Olivia's class ranking. "They're a bit disappointing, aren't they?" "Yes, indeed, a bit disappointing," Wendy concurred, nodding. "Liv, do you have a tutor?" "A tutor? No." Olivia shook her head. In her previous life, Victoria had sent her to a tutor during junior high school, but after she entered her dad's mansion, she never attended any. In this life, she didn't feel the need for them either yet because she had been too busy with her mission. Your grades are a bit worrisome. Millie furrowed her brow. If your family has the means, you should consider hiring a tutor. Is it that bad? Olivia pursed her lips. Marshall High had many academically advanced students, so even though she ranked low in her class, Olivia was still very smart. There was just simply too much competition in a school of this caliber. Besides, she knew she had only secured her admission through financial means. Not to mention, she had forgotten a good deal of knowledge she had learned in her last life in high school after her rebirth. She was essentially starting from scratch. Bad? Wendy and Millie inquired in unison. Well, Olivia blinked innocently. All right, I admit it's a bit. A bit? Wendy and Millie pressed further. Okay, maybe a bit more than just a bit. Olivia shrugged. Shoot, she worried. Maybe I've been too focused on getting revenge. What if my bad grades hurt my chances of succeeding? What if I don't get into a good school and then I don't have the connections I want? Or my bad grades put me on academic probation, so I'm taken out of my normal classes. So my social life suffers, and I'm unable to fight Pamela that way. The thoughts made Olivia nervous for a moment. At that moment, Sam Feinstein approached to check his results. Upon seeing that he ranked fourth in the entire grade, he nodded in satisfaction. It was about what he had expected. His gaze then swept over the other results until it landed on the last name. What the heck? Our class president's grades are impressive. Second to last in the class? He exclaimed. Olivia scrutinized him. He was still bitter he had been kicked out of the race for student body president, and he would use any opportunity he could to cut Olivia down, wouldn't he? I should have killed you when I had the chance, Olivia thought. I wish Marshall High didn't post class rankings. No other high school seemed to. Really? Olivia is second to last? Other students murmured. Everyone was astonished. It was a rare sight to encounter someone so accomplished place second to last in the class. It was almost unheard of. The entire class rushed to the bulletin board to inspect Olivia's results. Whoa, she really is second to last. Liv, wow. Yep. Olivia placed her hands on her hips defiantly. Surprised, anyone? Have you ever seen anything like it? Despite the situation, she had already accepted reality, so she decided not to back down or show any weakness or insecurity when everyone looked at her. It was only their midterm exams. She would have ample opportunities to improve before the end of the semester. Do you like not to try at all? Pamela asked. This is it, she thought. This is finally my opportunity to get her back. No, I did my best. These are my actual capabilities. Olivia refused to make excuses for herself. Those were the results she had achieved, and she had indeed given it her all. Suddenly, Olivia felt an unfriendly gaze directed at her from her left. She sensed the intensity of that stare. Swiftly turning her head, she found herself face to face with Pamela. Olivia felt a strong, tingling urge to use her powers to shove Pamela across the room. But before Olivia could act on the impulse, she heard Adam say, Olivia. She turned to find him standing just over her shoulder. Adam, he looked disappointed. You know, I have seen arrogant students who rank second in exams, but I've never witnessed the audacity of someone who ranked last to be so arrogant. Adam raised a suspicious eyebrow. Liv, it seems we may need to have a talk about your priorities. No, Olivia immediately pleaded, lowering her voice so no one could hear her except Adam. Adam, I apologize. I was just trying to not let anyone mock me. Ha, ha, ha. Olivia turned and noticed a few of the boys in class couldn't help but stifle their laughter. The class president had turned timid as soon as the teacher approached her, which was quite amusing. No, Olivia thought. No, I hate this. This feels like my last life. What is happening? No, not after all I've done. I won't let things take a turn now and go back to the way things were. Sam Feinstein coughed a few times, intentionally, and puffed out his chest, watching Olivia be knocked down a peg. Liv, do you need me to provide you with supplementary lessons? I could have my dad buy you some. A few boys in the back of class laughed. Yeah, shall we be your tutors? Another boy chimed in, reveling in the satisfaction of ridiculing the class president. Giving supplementary lessons to their student body leader seemed like an amusing prospect. Step aside, step aside. Millie waved her hand dismissively. If anyone's going to tutor her, it'll be me. Now, don't you guys have anything better to do? I've seen your rankings and they're not much better. Everyone immediately deflated. They had been called out by the #1 student in class and quickly tired of the subject, instead moving on to discussing their weekend plans and other mindless chatter. Millie spoke in a hushed voice to Olivia. Liv, I'll start coming over after school to study with you, and go over anything you don't understand if you want. Millie pledged, wrapping her arm around Olivia's shoulder loyally. Aw, Mill, thank you. You're truly a gem, you know that? Olivia rested her head on Millie's shoulder and pointed at the boy who had taunted her a few moments earlier. As for you, don't come begging for supplementary lessons once I surpass you one day. Although Olivia's words were said in jest, she expressed them with the utmost seriousness. Oh yeah? Liv, I'll be waiting for you to surpass me. Sam Feinstein smirked mischievously. Yeah? Mark my words. Olivia raised her chin confidently. I've beat you once in the elections, and I'll beat you again in the class rankings. Sam winced slightly at the thought of the student elections, and Olivia grinned at this. Meanwhile, still on the sidelines, just a few feet from Olivia, Pamela sneered coldly. Was Olivia shameless to the point of absurdity? How could she still laugh and joke with others when she ranked so poorly in class? How could she continue calling herself the class president? She should relinquish that position immediately, Pamela thought. Beside Pamela, Francis was also taken aback. He ranked last in the exam, which he expected since he didn't study. But the class president was second to last? What is happening? He thought. It seems that no one harbors hostility or ostracizes Olivia for her performance. But when I've been a bad student at all my old schools, people treat me like a pariah. Or do they treat me that way for other reasons? What kind of class is this? Francis felt utterly bewildered. During the lunch break, Pamela sought out Olivia, who was eating, and confronted her. Olivia, with your low ranking in our class, it's inappropriate for you to be the class president any longer, don't you think? Chris, seated next to Olivia, found the situation intriguing. Oh, what's her class ranking? Seizing the opportunity, Pamela happily exposed Olivia's weak point. Second to last in the class. Incredible! Chris smiled, giving a thumbs up. Olivia rolled her eyes. Chris hated school, so of course he would find anyone doing poorly amusing. Olivia waved her hand nonchalantly, wearing a smile. These results are only temporary. I believe in you. Chris patted Olivia's shoulder, as if he were a coach, giving an impassioned pep talk in a feel-good movie. Give it your all. You got this, girl. Yeah. Olivia nodded. Observing their interaction while being ignored, Pamela gritted her teeth. Olivia, you haven't answered my question. It's truly unsuitable for someone with your results to be the class president, right? I mean, aren't you going to need to spend your time and energy on bringing your grades up? Surely you want to get into a good college, right? So maybe you should relinquish your presidency to someone who can actually spend the necessary time and energy on leading our class. Oh, Pamela. Olivia put down her fork and looked up. Can you please refrain from seeking trouble every time I'm eating? Was Pamela some kind of masochist? It's like she would feel uneasy all day if she didn't seek out Olivia constantly and provoke her until Liv put her in her place. If that's what you want, Olivia thought, smirking, then I'll just have to give you what you asked for. Olivia felt the old but familiar tingling in her stomach, the tingling that signaled the coming over her telekinetic powers. And she knew there were dozens of people around, but she couldn't help it. She felt the strong, undeniable urge to use her powers to get Pamela back right now. Just to teach her a lesson, Olivia told herself. Just for a second. Just this once.